Good afternoon, Landis Homes. It is so wonderful to see all of your smiling faces here in the chapel, and also welcome to those of you who are watching on TV from home. We have a special presentation today about scam prevention, and we have two officers with us from the Manheim Township Police Department. We have Officer Mark Shivers and Sam Echternaut. So I will turn it over to them.
Lapel mic here? Okay, great. So I'm Officer Shivers. I've been with Manheim Township Police Department for 15 years. Our department recently started a new unit called Community Outreach and Patrol Support. The patrol support side is just having to do more with internal paperwork that used to fall on the shoulders of the patrol officers, which took time away from them from their duties on the street. But the community outreach side of it, which is really more what I enjoy, is events like this, going to some of the elementary schools. The scam prevention training I started because after years of patrol, people would come in to talk to the police about falling victim to scams. And once you fall victim to a scam and you give your money away, it's gone. So I always had this thought that somebody should put together some kind of training and go out in the community and try to teach people what to look out for these scams. Now that I'm in this position with the Department for Community Outreach, now I can be that person. So it'll just be kind of a basic overview, some things that we can look out for to try to avoid being scammed, and hopefully we get something out of it. And my colleague, Sergeant Echternaut here, the way it works for patrol, whenever we handle any kind of call, we have to write a report about it. When we write the report, it gets submitted for approval to a supervisor. So Officer Echternaut is in a position where he has to read every report that's coming through. So he's seeing all the different scams. Where I may only see one or two a day, a week, he's seeing all of them. So scammers are intelligent. They're always kind of changing their tactics. So if something comes up and he's seeing something new, he can kind of add to it. All right, so if we're ready, we'll get started with it. Maybe. There we go. All right, so these statistics are from the Federal Trade Commission, and this is from 2023. In 2023, U.S. citizens, and this is only what was reported to them, U.S. citizens lost $10 billion to scams, okay? They received 2.6 million fraud reports in 2023. But again, this is only what's reported to them. There's plenty of people out there that are too ashamed or embarrassed to ever report this to the police or the Federal Trade Commission. So the actual number is probably much, much higher. So what is a scam? I want to clarify what it is exactly what we're talking about today. So scam is a broad term encompassing deceptive tactics to trick someone into giving money or personal information. It requires a victim's active participation in order for it to be successful. If we are able to locate the scammer and we're able to bring them to justice, one of the main charges that we would actually charge them against would be theft by deception, okay? So what is not a scam? So credit card fraud. Has anybody in here had fraudulent charges on their credit card? I mean, this just happened to me about 2 weeks ago. I tried to use my credit card to make a purchase. I was actually at work in uniform. I went to Mission Barbecue to buy a sandwich for lunch, and my card isn't working. So that was a little embarrassing. And then I called the bank real quick, and they say, you in Washington, D.C. right now at a Target? No, I'm not. Okay. So they shut down the credit card. Luckily, only $62 was actually charged to my account. I filed a dispute, and about a week later, I had that $62 back in my account, right? So that was not a scam. There was nothing that I did. Somebody accessed my credit card, debit card information somehow. They charged it to my account, but it was reimbursed, right? So the bank or the credit card company is in charge of securing that money, right? So how do you know if you fall victim to a credit card fraud? Well, in that situation, I used my card, it didn't work. If you're a little bit more active and you keep an eye on your accounts, you check it weekly, daily, just to make sure whatever you're actually spending is coming out, or you just like to keep an eye on it, you may see fraudulent charges. After my card was used, I looked and there was a charge for Target in Washington, D.C. So that's one way. You may get a text message from your bank or your credit card company just asking you to verify a purchase. And if you get that text message, it's either they just want you to respond with a yes or a no, and that's it. I've also received those over the years. And every time I received that text message, it was a legitimate purchase that I made. I don't know what it was about that specific purchase that raised red flags for them. Something about it caused them to send me the text message. I verified and everything was fine, okay? So if that happens to you, contact your bank, contact your credit card company, file a dispute. I belong to a very small credit union. When this happened in years past, I would just go in and fill out the dispute, which was just on the standard 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and I would give it to the teller, and then they would refund my money within a couple days. Now, unfortunately, you have to call into a call center, and you're talking to somebody from India, and there's the language barrier, so it's a little bit more frustrating now than it used to be. It's still the same process. All right. So what else is it not? A scam is not identity theft. Okay, again, this is something that usually happens through no fault of your own. Everybody's information is out there. It's just, it seems to be no rhyme or reason. It just happens to be that person's turn to become the victim of identity theft. So what that means is somebody is using your social security number, your name, birthday, address, whatever information to open up another line of credit, okay? In order to prevent this or watch out for this, you could get a credit report online. Every year, you can get a free credit report from, I believe, Sam, do you know the website? I think it's freecreditreport.gov. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's right up here. Annualcreditreport.com, okay? Somebody I work with, every tax season, he will run his credit report just to make sure. And he uses, it's April 15th. I'll run the credit report just as a reminder to himself. And then you just look through your credit report. You'll get from all three companies, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, through that one website. It's free. And then you just go down the list to make sure there's nothing new or unusual on that report. And it could be anything. It could be a credit card. It could be services through Comcast was pretty common for a while. People would open up lines of credit through cell phone companies. They'd order a bunch of iPhones, and then they'd leave you holding the bill, all right? So there's ways to prevent identity theft. There's all kinds of services that you can pay for. Some of them are LifeLock, Aura, Identity Guard, Identity Shield. Manheim Township Police does not endorse any of those companies. They're just up there for information purposes. All right, so what is unique about scams? A scam, you have to be an active participant in it. Not necessarily a willing participant, but you have to provide either information or money to the scammer in order for them to be successful. You are giving your money away. So unlike the credit card fraud, the identity theft, there's really nobody out there to help you, okay? If the debit card, somebody uses your debit card or credit card fraudulently, you file a dispute with your bank, they refund your money. If you give a scammer access to your banking information or you give money away to them, the banks will not refund your money. So, why are scammers so successful and why is it a $10 billion industry? This is a screenshot from a gentleman who has a YouTube channel. He is a hacker, right? He's very good with computers. and he's an American, and what he does for fun is he will call these scammers, and he's able to actually hack into their computer systems, into their CCTV cameras, and this is a fully fledged business center in India where these people go to work every day to do their scams, right? And this is from this hacker's YouTube channel where he apparently was working on, I think it was this guy right here, and he's able to pull up their information. He knows who these people are, and it's actually a pretty interesting show because, you know, these guys, oh, hi, my name's David, I'm from Microsoft Tech Support, and he says, no, you're not, your name is whatever, and to see their reactions on the CCTV cameras, right? So these scammers, they show up to work for an 8-hour shift or a 10-hour shift, and this is what they do all day. They just try to scam people in their fully furnished offices with their computers. So if you're on the phone and you think, well, this doesn't sound quite right, and it sounds like there's a lot of activity going on in the background, it's because there is, right? Furthermore, same video. This is them actually in a training session, right? So this is the manager here, and he's training the new guys on how to perform these scams, right? So a little bit further on in the training, I tell you to be cynical and I tell you to be rude to these people. This is why. You know, they don't take it personally. It's just business for them. So here is a non-exhaustive list of the types of scams that are out there. We're not going to go through all of them, right? There's a lot of similarities to each of them. There's just some different terms of what we see pretty frequently. I just want to go over some of the scams that, as a police department, that we are seeing most often in this area, okay? So how do scams start? Most of them will start either with a phone call, a text message, an email, social media friend requests, computer pop-ups. You can unknowingly call a scammer, and sometimes you receive an actual physical package or a letter in the mail. So a very common type of scam is a tech support scam. These often start with a pop-up on the computer, okay? The pop-up will tell you there's a virus or there's some illicit material that was detected on your computer. You try to get rid of the pop-up, you can't get it to go away. They'll give you a phone number that you have to call or a link that you have to click to start working through the process to get rid of this problem that they've created, okay? So phone call, sometimes you'll get a phone call. I've gotten these calls. I'm sure probably a lot of us in here have experienced these. So you get a phone call from Microsoft, Apple, some kind of tech support saying they've detected a virus on your computer. I received one of these calls. I remember I was working a night shift. My wife came in after I had just fallen asleep. She said, hey, wake up. There's a guy calling from Microsoft tech support saying we have a virus on their computer. I thought you might want to talk to him. Now, she knew it was a scam. I was very sleepy. So I talked to the gentleman for a little bit, but they'll create this problem that you will need to solve by either buying a product or paying a ransom to get the virus removed. One of the other tactics that they'll use is when you call this tech support number, they'll say, okay, you know, call Microsoft Tech Support. You call them, yes, hi, this is Microsoft Tech Support. They'll start working with you a little bit. They'll have you download an app so you can get remote access to your computer. Never do that. But in the background, one of their partners that they're working with is going through your bank and other financial information that you have in the background that you don't even know they're doing, right? That's very common. So if a scammer tries to give you remote access to your computer, never give anybody remote access to your computer. And it's the same with phones. I just had a woman come into the department a few days ago because she received, I forget exactly what the details were of why she got this far into it, but I think it was a phone call, virus on the phone. You need to call this number, and they had her download an app so they could remote into her phone, which that was new to me. I didn't know you could do that onto a phone. Luckily, she knew it was a scam. She didn't give the guy any money, but she still gave a remote access to the phone. So there could be further damage she's not aware of yet. Ultimately, scammers try to get money from you. Now, they'll either have you wire transfer money, right? Just do a wire transfer. Gift cards. If anybody ever tries to get you to pay for anything with a gift card, it's a scam, 100%. Just remember, gift cards are only gifts. They are never used as a form of payment for anything, okay? Government agencies will not take gift cards for payment. And sometimes maybe it might not be clear if what they're telling you to buy is actually a gift card, because there's all kinds of companies, new companies out there that maybe we're not familiar with. One of them I can think of is a gaming website called Steam. I mean, who's heard of Steam before, right? But one person, right? But it's a very common computer system that a lot of the younger generation are using. But I mean, I'm 39. I don't even really know what it is, right? So if they say, hey, go to the store and buy a Steam card, you may be confused if it's even a gift card or not, right? So again, never give anybody remote access to your computer, okay? All right. So some of the techniques that they use for the tech support is you'll have the computer virus claim that you'll have unrecoverable data. You know, people keep photos on the computers now. Bank account information, tax information is on there. Investment account information is on there. The other thing that they'll try to do is use fear or embarrassment. A very common tactic is computer virus, but also child pornography. That is very common. I would say it's probably even more common to say that you have child pornography on your computer than a virus on the computer, because not only do you have the fear of an issue with your computer, but then the societal embarrassment, the possibility of jail time. Scammers will try to use your emotions, especially fear, to get money out of you. They'll use threats, right? They'll threaten to harm you or your family, and that's very common, especially towards the end when scammers realize, well, they might not be getting anything out of you. They might start threatening you, which might make some people change their mind. Something else that's very common with scams is once they have you on the phone, they will do everything in their power to keep you on the phone. They don't want you to hang up. They don't want you to call your kids or a friend just to kind of confirm with them, hey, this is what's going on. It sounds a little fishy. Do you think it's a scam, right? Again, these guys are professionals. They do this every day for work. They're going to use every tactic in the book, right? They'll make you feel rushed. They know technical language. They'll try to make it seem like whatever the issue is an absolute critical emergency and you have to take action now. This is very common in tech support scams because if you give somebody remote access to your computer, they have somebody working in the background to access your bank account information. So you think you're talking to Apple tech support and they say, whoa, hang on a second. My partner who works for Ephrata National Bank discovered that $16,000 just left your bank account. And they'll tell you to open up your login information for Ephrata National Bank, and you'll go in your checking account and see that $16,000 is missing. Meanwhile, all they've done is transferred money from your checking account to your savings account, but you're not in the state of mind to actually look that closely at it. All you see is $16,000 is missing out of your checking account, right? So when I say they will create new and unknown problems, that's what I'm referring to. So when it comes to tech support scams, if it's a pop-up, if it's a phone call, what have you, however you get it, you can just ignore it, right? You can just say no. Nancy Reagan, I always fall back on her. The Just Say No campaign. This is always a good one too. Just let the person know, hey, I'm gonna call my grandson, my granddaughter, they're a police officer, they're an FBI agent. They work for Homeland Security, whatever you wanna make up. You don't have to tell them the truth. You don't owe them the truth. Just make it up, lie to them, whatever you want to say. And please, feel free to be cynical and rude with these people. We can only judge people based on their actions, and what these people do all day is just purely evil, right? So they're evil people. They're trying to scam you. They're stealing everything. I've had cases, and this is even low. I had one woman who ended up giving $250,000 to a scammer. Let them know if it's a tech support scam, let them know I don't care. I'll buy a new computer, whatever. Or just hang up on the people. You can always just hang up. So a tech support scam case that I handled, I just happened to be parked on the side of the road. A woman pulled in behind me. She says, hey, I need to get to Bank of America in Exton before they close. I've been driving around for an hour and a half. I'm lost. How do I get to Exton? And I look down at her hand, and I see she's holding her phone, and she's been on a call for an hour and a half. So immediately that raised some red flags to me, right? Because the scammers will try to keep people on the phone. I say, well, who are you talking to? She said, oh, this is David from Bank of America. I said, well, tell me what's going on a little bit here, because already the red flags are kind of raised. I've dealt with scams like this many times before. She said, well, I was on a website, there was an issue, I got a pop-up, it said to call this phone number, so I called the number, it was Microsoft Tech Support, and then they found that somebody was transferring money out of my bank account, so they needed me to transfer all the money out of my account into this temporary secure account, but I couldn't figure it out, so now I have to go to the bank and do it in person. I said, ma'am, can I talk to this David on the phone, please? And immediately he gets angry. Who are you? Put her back on the phone. I said, David, I know this is a scam, and I hung up. She about lost her mind. She's like, you're going to cost me tens of thousands of dollars. I said, hang on. It took a little while to explain to her, this is a scam. This is why I think you're being scammed. Luckily, because she wasn't able to successfully transfer the money, and I don't know why she couldn't do it, and she thankfully could not get to the Bank of America. She got lost and just happened to run into me. I had her come back to the police station. We went through all of her accounts with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that her money was in there, it was secure. What I found interesting about her was she was retired, and her last job that she was in some kind of IT position for like 20 years. So she knew computers. And the reason she believed this guy was because he knew all the technical language, right? So she said, well, he knew what to say. He knew that if this problem existed, this is how I had to fix it. So he knew what he was talking about. So that's why I was convinced. She had $16,000 immediately accessible to her in her checking account, but her bank account is directly connected to her investment accounts, and she had $1.9 million in her investment accounts. That I guarantee you, if this scammer would have kept working with her, it would have been out the door. So business impersonation scams. How many have gotten the text message from EasyPass or the other one, right? I get them all the time. It was weird with me. It started with it wasn't EasyPass, it was another state's version of it. But I was actually at Brethren Village about to start a scam prevention class, and I got this text message, and I thought, what are the odds? But something to look out for whenever you receive a text message. So this is a screenshot right here of my cell phone of a text message I received on January 24th. Now it's claiming to be from the U.S. Postal Service. They're telling me I have a package that arrived at the facility that can't be delivered for some reason. So the U.S. Postal Service doesn't have my address for some reason, but they have my cell phone number. It's a little bizarre, right? Also, the U.S. Postal Service uses Gmail, right? So that's where the text message came from, elivdup@gmail.com. I guarantee you the U.S. Postal Service has their own email system, right? I work for Manheim Township Police Department. My email address is shiversm@manheimtownshippolice.org, okay? The U.S. Postal Service definitely does not use Gmail. So whenever you get a text message from a company, a business, whatever, always check where it's coming from. If it's coming from a Gmail address or any other generic email, almost all the time it's a scam. Usually legitimate text messages will only come from a number with about 5 numbers, right? So business impersonator scam is anybody claiming to be from a legitimate business, Best Buy, Walmart, UPS, FedEx, Amazon. They create a problem that can only be solved by you giving them money, right? So with this one, this text message, they give you a link. And I don't know what would happen if I click on that link. I don't know if that would lead me to a phone number that I would have to call, or if just by clicking on that link, that in and of itself will do the damage, right? Because sometimes if you click on a link, that's all it takes for your phone or your computer to just be hacked, and they have all the information on your phone. So if you ever get one of these, if you have an iPhone, I don't know how it works with other phones, but down here where it says report junk, just click that, it'll delete it, and then report that to the legitimate Apple tech support. Has anybody gotten this one? The grandkids scam? Nobody's grandkids have been locked up in a third world jail? All right. The reason this is pretty early on in the presentation is because it's going to get a lot worse. With artificial intelligence, generating images is unbelievably easy. I think it takes 15 seconds of a person talking in order for the computer systems to almost identically recreate their voice, right? So you may get a phone call from someone claiming to be your grandchild who's in jail or being held hostage somewhere, right? And it sounds just like them. But it's not. So what's common is, you get a call, Grandma, I've been kidnapped, I'm in jail in Mexico, and I need money for bail. I've been arrested by the Pennsylvania State Police, I need money for bail. You think, well, I had this scam prevention training, I know what to look out for. You look at your caller ID, and you think, oh no, that actually is my grandkid's phone number, right? Well, the scammers with the technology nowadays, they can use your loved one's phone numbers. So you can't even trust caller ID anymore, right? What I would recommend if you ever get this, don't panic, right? There is no legitimate problem that a little bit of extra time is gonna hurt it, right? So if your grandkid's in jail and they're saying, I need money right now for bail, 10 extra minutes is not gonna be a problem, right? They're sitting in jail, they're fine, they're safe. Make sure you're doing your due diligence. And you know your grandkids. I'm sure nobody in here, everybody's grandkids in here, they're good kids. They're not ending up in jail. But if you ever get this phone call, make sure you're verifying things. Call your kids, right? Or call their phone number. You may want to use a different phone. So if you get the call on your phone and it's coming from their phone number, borrow a phone from a friend or a neighbor to call your grandkid or your son or your daughter to verify that everything's okay. And the reason I say that is every once in a while, these guys are really good and they can intercept outgoing phone calls and redirect it to them, all right? And keep in mind, if you're going to call a family member or a friend from a different phone number, make sure you're calling constantly because most people will not answer their phone if it's a number they don't recognize, right? So don't borrow a neighbor's phone and call your son one time and he doesn't answer. So, okay, now it's definitely legitimate. I'm gonna send him money, right? Don't do that. Call them 10 times from that phone number until they realize, this number's called me 10 times, it must be something serious, right? The other thing I recommend is maybe having like a family code word. This was something that was kind of popular back in like the 80s and 90s. I remember when I was a kid, we had one when I was a kid. It was our cat's name at the time. So it was, hey, if a stranger ever says, I know your mom or your dad, you're supposed to come with me. I was supposed to respond, well, what's the family password, right? And if they knew that, you knew it was legitimate. So we can kind of maybe bring that back. The other thing is with all these scams, not just a grandkid scam, is if you really truly don't know, call the police, okay? We're here to help you. We will come to you, right? You know, we'll show up in the police car in uniform, you know we'll be legitimate. Government impersonation scams. Has anybody in here missed jury duty? This was real popular for a few months in this area. This was, I think it was about last year. There was a gentleman who would call people randomly. The caller ID would say Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. He would say, hi, this is Deputy Sheriff White from the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. You have missed jury duty. I need you to pay bail, right? You have a warrant for your arrest for missing jury duty. Now you got to pay bail. And that's where the scam starts. I actually talked to this guy once. The problem with him was he was an American, but he had a Southern accent, right? So it's not unheard of that somebody would move, that far, but that kind of stood out to me. The one case I had was, I got a call from a husband, and they're only in their early 50s, right? So he calls 911 because he thinks his wife is getting scammed. He was communicating with her via text message. She got a call from Deputy White with the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office saying that she missed jury duty and now she owed $5,000 for bail. If she didn't pay this, then sheriffs were going to come and arrest her. She stopped responding to the text messages because this scammer was telling her, don't hang up the phone with me. If you hang up, then you don't get a second chance, or we're just kind of come and arrest you. So she was afraid. So she stays on the phone. Luckily, her husband had the Find My Friend app or Find My Phone app, so he was able to track her location on the phone. So he called 911, and I saw this pop up on the computer screen in the police car, and I read it, and I thought, oh, this isn't good. So I called the husband right away. I said, where is she? I don't need the story. Don't waste your time. I know what's going on. Where is she? He said, well, her phone's been sitting in the parking lot of Walgreens for 5 minutes. So the way this scam works is the deputy, right, he'll tell you, you have to go to a Bitcoin machine. Does anybody in here know what a Bitcoin machine was? Because I didn't know these things existed until this call, right? So Bitcoin, does everybody know what Bitcoin is? All right. Sam, what's a good way to describe what Bitcoin is?
Like a credit card, it's electronic money.
Right, so it's
you can send to somebody else, pretty much.
yeah, Bitcoin is a new form of digital currency. It's only digital. There is no paper version of it. It doesn't come from any country. All of it's online. People have these, they're called digital wallets, but you can cash out Bitcoin for real money. It is real money. It's just it's all digital, right? It has dollar value to it. And there's actually ATMs where you can buy and sell Bitcoin in their actual physical locations. There's a Bitcoin ATM at Walgreens on Lititz Pike, a little bit further south, almost in Lancaster City. So the husband says, well, she's been sitting for about 5 minutes at Walgreens. So I was only about 2 minutes down the road, so I go flying down there. Okay, what does she look like? Oh, she's 50 years old, blonde, whatever, her name is Melissa. All right, so I go running in, this was like something out of a Hollywood movie. I go running in, she is at the ATM about to hit send. I said, Melissa, stop, you're being scammed. She looks at me and goes, oh, thank God. So I said, come on outside, did you hit send? No, okay, cancel that transaction. So I said, tell me the details. She said, well, I get the phone call, this guy's claiming to be a sheriff, and he told me I have to spend, missed jury duty, warrant for my arrest, I owe $5,000. So what he told me was I have to go to the Bitcoin ATM, send the $5,000 to this temporary account, and then I'm going to take the receipt from the ATM, and I'm going to go to the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. I'll turn the receipt into them. They'll give me my money back, and then the warrant will go away. All right. Obviously, that's not true. Once you send money through Bitcoin or you send money at all to a scammer, whether it's through gift cards, Bitcoin, whatever, it's gone. There's no way to get it back. So I interrupted the scam. This guy calls back on her cell phone, and I talked to him a little bit, and I said, you know, I'm Sheriff's Deputy White here from Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. I'm Officer Shivers, Manheim Township Police. I'm like, dude, I know this is a scam. You don't work for the Sheriff's Office. And then he starts getting angry with me, threatening to fight me, and I tell him, hey, look, I will be happy to fight you. Just give me your address. I'll come to you. I'll make it easy, right? And he's running his mouth. I get it. Yeah, you want to beat me up? Sure. Where are you? I'll come to you. Make it easy. Unfortunately, the guy hung up the phone, never found him. However, Berks County recently made an arrest, and it was a gentleman from Georgia, and again, W. White had a southern accent, and I believe it's going to be one and the same. So it looks like this guy actually was caught, thankfully. So if you ever get a phone call from a government official asking you for money, whether it's through gift cards, wire transfer, Bitcoin, it's a scam, right? You're not going to get a phone call from the police asking for money. You'll get an official letter, whether it's the IRS, UPS, whatever. It'll come in the form of a letter, not a phone call, not saying, hey, it's Officer Shivers, Manheim Township Police. You got a warrant for your arrest. I'm going to need you to send me that money via gift card. All right, it's a scam. So again, when it comes to dealing with these scammers, feel free to be cynical, be rude, make something up. Just tell them, you know, hey, you say there's a warrant for my arrest? It's actually on my bucket list. Come get me. I've always wanted to be arrested, you know? And again, feel free to call the police. We are a resource for you, right? You can call us anytime. All right, charity scams. These are a little bit tougher, and we don't see these a whole lot. It's just I included it in here because of the recent natural disasters is usually when we start seeing these kind of tick up in popularity. I think the reason we don't get a whole lot of reports with charity scams, people being victimized, is because they don't know. You know, you think you're sending your money to charity, you send off the check or whatever, and then it's gone and you assume it goes to the right place. Charity scams, you just don't know if it's legitimate or not. So if you want to donate to charity, just make sure it's through an organization that you know and trust. If it's through your church, your local community, don't donate money to just some random phone call that you get or random email, okay? Just something to be mindful of. Romance scams. One of the criticisms I got the first time I did this class, it was through Brethren Village. There was a lady that said, you know, romance scams, maybe don't put that in there for our generation. Nobody in here is really dating. Well, the most money that I ever had get lost from a victim was $250,000 for a romance scam. And the way that started is she went on a dating website. She met a man, she fell in love, right? And, you know, picture of this handsome guy, and they got to know each other over a few months. They would text, email, phone calls. Never met him in person. You know, he had this great job. He was an engineer on an oil rig. They talked for a few months before he ever actually asked for money. What ended up happening was they tried to meet a few times. There was always an excuse of why he couldn't fly out. You know, she was supposed to meet him at the Philadelphia airport, and then the morning of, he would call and cancel and say, well, I ran into this problem. With her specific case, he came up with the story that he broke a piece of equipment and he couldn't access his millions of dollars that he had sitting in a fund because it was overseas and there was an issue. Could I just have a $250,000 loan? So of course she loved the guy, even though she never met him. But she was widowed, she recently sold her house, and she sent him $250,000 and it was gone forever. I was actually at a recent scam seminar in Lancaster City, and a woman told this story. I believe she was in her late 70s, and she works for AARP now, telling her story. It was very interesting. It was very sad. So she wasn't out looking for love. She just got a friend request one day from a gentleman, and he was a doctor that worked for, I believe it was the UN or some other NGO, and he was in Iraq. He was, I believe, an American doctor working in Iraq, and there was all kinds of pictures of him. He would call and they would talk. He even knew the names of her dogs because he would hear the dogs barking in the background. They had made plans to meet up. She went to the Philadelphia airport one morning to pick him up, and he didn't show up. And apparently he was arrested, and all the story just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then his lawyer calls and says, hey, we need a whole lot of money for bail money because he got arrested at the airport at the baggage carousel because they claimed he had drugs in there, and now we need money for bail. And unfortunately, this poor woman, she ended up, I think it was $39,000 that she gave this scammer, right? Luckily, and the story got even worse. And I think her story is actually in a recent AARP release, the newspaper. If you ever get them, there was one recently that was all about scams, and her story was in there. But it ended up like a real tragedy. Her house burned down a few weeks later because it was in the middle of June or July, and she was running an extension cord to her air conditioner, and the short-circuited, house burned down, all of her 6 dogs died, and then she gets a phone call from the scammer, her romantic love interest, a couple weeks later, and says, hey, hon, how you doing? Awful. And then she told him what happened, and then he actually asked for money again. And she said, I just told you I lost everything. He says, no, I know that's not true because your friend set up a GoFundMe account, a charity account for you. So you do have money. And these people are absolutely relentless. So just be mindful of romance scams, whether it's you or maybe a friend, if you're hearing some kind of strange things about, friend requests that they got online. If the guy has, if there's a weird story about being a doctor or an oil rig worker, somewhere overseas, just keep an eye out for it. Something to be mindful of. I had a case where this couple, tech support scam is how it started. They got the virus pop up on the computer. Your computer is infected with the virus. Call this phone number for Microsoft tech support. The husband thought, wait a minute, this is a scam. I bet this is a scam. So he just Googled the phone number for Microsoft. He didn't call the number that was on the pop-up. He Googled the number and called the first number that came up when he Googled Microsoft tech support. He ended up getting scammed out of $10,000 because it's what's known as a sponsored ad. Anybody can take out a sponsored ad on Google to be the first result when you search something. Now they just kind of have to get lucky with it, right? So they may just, that day they may pick something big like Microsoft tech support or Walmart tech support or what have you. But what I'm trying to tell you and warn you against is do not use a website or a phone number that is the first result on a search engine because people are paying for that. Just scroll down a little bit lower for one that is not sponsored. And what's nice about Google is they will tell you if it's a sponsored ad, okay? So it'll tell you, right here is what you would click, digital advertising agency. You would click on that to get to the website, but just above it, it lets you know that it's sponsored, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? You understand what a sponsored ad is? So if you just Google, hey, phone number for whatever, Target, it doesn't matter, whatever the company is, and it gives you a phone number right away, and it's under a sponsored ad, don't call that phone number, right? Just scroll down a little bit further, and it'll get you where you need. All right, the biggest thing, the absolute red flag, is gift cards. Again, gift cards are only meant as gifts. That the idea has to come organically from you. It's a holiday. You want to get the kids or grandkids a gift. You don't know what they like, so I'll just get them a gift card for Amazon or Target or Walmart or whatever, or even Visa. They should never be used as a form of payment for anything. There is no legitimate organization, business, entity on earth that will take a gift card in any form as a form of payment. This is so common when it comes to scams. It's probably the number one thing that we see. And it seems like people are aware of it, but they still fall for it constantly. So no matter what it is, bills, rewards, anything, ransoms, nothing via gift card, okay? And the way it works with gift cards, you go to the store, you buy an Apple gift card or Visa gift card, doesn't really matter. Then the scammer's still on the phone with you, and they say, okay, $500 on that gift card. You go to the register, you buy the gift card, and then you get back in your car, and the scammer tells you, okay, read me the numbers on the back. You read them the numbers on your back, they enter it into the system, and then they take the money off the card immediately. So the money is just gone, all right? Also, text message, images, pictures. So sometimes they'll just have you buy the gift card and then take a picture of the numbers on the back. And then as soon as you do that, the money's gone because they'll enter the numbers on the back of the gift card into the system and then just take all the money, okay? Another red flag, and this happens to people all the time, is there may be a limit of how many gift cards you can buy at a certain store. Walmart might tell you you can only buy $500 worth of gift cards for anything on one day. So they may have you drive to multiple stores to buy multiple gift cards, right? Verification codes. This verification code thing kind of goes along with any kind of impersonator scam. So you may get a phone call from what you think is, let's just say Best Buy, right? They say, hey, yeah, your Best Buy account, there's an issue. It looks like maybe it was hacked. I'm going to walk you through how to change your password or whatever the issue is. And they say, okay, I am going to send you a code, and I need you to read that code to me so I can verify your identity. What you don't realize is in the background, that person is already attempting to log into your bank account information or your Best Buy account or whatever the account may be, but they can't get past resetting your password. So most of the time they're just trying to reset your password for a certain website. So they may already have your email address and now they're just trying to reset your password. So they call you so they can get this verification code. Does anybody use verification codes for anything on a daily basis? Is this completely new to people, or have we ever used it before? So the way it works, a verification code, these are actually just screenshots from my phone, and these are legitimate computer programs, systems that I use. So iSolved is the computer program, and that is our software that we use for Manheim Township Police for scheduling and pay. So all our W-2 information is on there. So anytime I work, it's basically what I use to punch in at work. Anytime I log in, just logging in, I have to enter in my password, but it's a two-step verification because passwords are easy to guess. So it's an extra step. So when you initially set up your profile on a computer program, you have to enter in your cell phone number, another email address, your name, social, whatever. It will just come in the form of a text message, and then after you enter in your password, there'll be another page where you have to enter this verification code. So if nobody's ever used it and you're not familiar with it, that's all it is. It's basically just like a second password, and these only last for about 5 minutes, okay? So like this, when I logged into iSolved Sunday morning, whenever this was, I entered in my password, I hit enter on the computer screen, I got this text message on my personal phone, and then I had to enter in 111063, and then I could get onto the site to use it. All right, that's what a verification code is. Now this one, it gives you a warning, right? It says your iSolve security code is that for login. For security, iSolve support will never ask for this code. If you didn't request this code, please contact our support team immediately. So this company is warning you. Nobody is ever going to ask you to give them this verification code. This other one, this is also from my phone. These are all verification codes for my work email. right? So every time I log into my work email, I put in my password, then I get a text message on my phone, and I have to enter in this temporary verification code, right? But there's no warning attached to this. Microsoft just hopes that I'm not foolish enough to fall for a scam, right? But be mindful of that. If you're ever on a call with somebody and there's whatever the issue may be and they say, I'm going to send you a code, I need you to read those numbers off to me. It's some form of a verification code. You never read that off to somebody. The only time you're ever using a verification code is when you enter it into a program yourself. There's a lot of companies that are going to it's called a two-step verification process. So companies have decided that a single password to get into your account isn't secure enough anymore, so this is just another layer of security, right? Does that make sense, or are there any questions on what a verification code is? I feel like sometimes it's just one of these things you have to actually do, and then you understand it. I actually got a call from my wife yesterday, and she said, my company's going to a new computer system, and they were talking about an authenticator app, and she had never heard of this before. Instead of a text message, there's an app on your phone that you can download called an authenticator app. So when I log into a certain computer program, I can show, it just gives you temporary numbers on your phone. So this computer program that I use for work is called Kodi Cobra. So it would be the same thing. I would log into the website with my username, password, and then I have like a minute to use these numbers, and then they recycle every minute, okay? So same thing, that's all it is. Again, you can't always trust caller ID because phone numbers can be what we would call spoofed. So the guy that was calling claiming to be a sheriff from the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office, you look at the phone number that he was calling from, it was the phone number for the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. All right, so you can't always trust caller ID. Some common red flags. Does the caller have a heavy accent, right? Like we said earlier, with the screenshot from the YouTube channel, a lot of these scams are coming from overseas. A lot of them are. It's just the reality of it. Poor phone connection. The reason I put in the poor phone connection was I was out with my family one day. We just got my youngest daughter her first haircut. I'm a little distracted. I got 3 kids in the car losing their mind. And I get a phone call from a gentleman that's telling me that my debit card is being used in London. And he wants to know if I'm in London and I'm making a purchase for $5,000. I said, no, sir, I'm not. And I was a little panicked, right? I'm already stressed because the kids are going crazy and it was raining and I'm parked on a busy side street. And then he starts asking some other questions and I'm like, hang on a second. So you're telling me that somebody's using my credit card information in London. No, it's not me. I'm not authorizing those charges. Go ahead and stop that. Okay, sir, just need a little bit more information from you to verify that. And the whole time I'm talking to him, it was really weird. The phone connection was just not great. So that kind of raised a red flag with me, and I don't know why. But then he started asking, okay, I just want to verify that you have your credit card in hand, that it wasn't stolen. I thought, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but okay. So he said, okay, are the first 4 numbers of your card 7832? I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. It's a scam. Because nobody in my whole life has ever asked me for the first 4 numbers of my credit card, ever. Everything is always the last 4 numbers, right? So I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll have a little fun with the guy, right? So I said, no, that's not what it is. Oh, it's not? Okay. How about these numbers? No, that's not it either. Let's try again. He said, well, what are they? I don't know, what else you got? So he kept running off numbers, like, no, that's not it either. And he said, well, sir, we got to move quick here. I'm like, look, I was like, I know you have a lot of my information there. You have my phone number and what bank I use, right? By any chance, does it say what I do for a living? No, sir, I don't see how that's important. I'm like, I'm a cop, right? Like, I deal with these scams all the time. I know what you're doing. It's not going to work. So I hang up with him. I immediately call my grandmother, my father, my sister, because we all use the same bank. Hey, just to let you know, you may get this phone call, it's a scam. I got a phone call from that guy and his friends probably like 10 more times over the course of the week. So they are very persistent. You got to be aware of it. Don't buy what they're selling, okay? If you ever get a phone call saying that you want a prize and we need you to pay the taxes on it before we send you the prize or the money that you won, did you ever even enter a prize, right? We had a gentleman just absolutely lose his shirt because he won a Publishers Clearinghouse and he kept paying the taxes and $36,000 to cover the taxes of his $1 million winnings that he never entered, right? He just kept paying for the taxes and the check never came. So just ask yourself, did you ever even enter to win a prize? You can't win a prize if you didn't enter to win the sweepstakes, right? If you're ever asked to pay up front before receiving the money, right? Again, anything involving gift cards. Never pay anything with a gift card. The Federal Trade Commission provides a lot of free materials for classes like this if local police officers or communities want to do that. And one of the pamphlets we have in the back is specifically warning against gift cards because that's how prevalent it is. Do you feel like you're being rushed? Is there some great catastrophe that you have to take action on now or it's just going to get worse? Scammers try to use your emotions, right? They're using fear. Do you feel afraid right now? Is there something really bad that could happen if you don't send money somewhere for some reason? Are you being told not to hang up? Stay on the phone. We got to get this resolved. If you hang up with me, you're going to get arrested, or whatever the case may be. If they're trying to keep you on the phone for some reason, it's probably a scam. There really is no problem that can't be resolved with a few extra minutes, right? You say, well, I don't know if I believe you. I'm going to hang up with you and I'm going to make a few phone calls, do a little bit of Googling to try to verify this. If you say, no, don't do that. You know it's a scam, okay? And the biggest thing is that they're most of the time they're trying to use fear. When all else fails, they're just trying to scare you. So if you feel like you're being scared, more or less, it's almost always a scam. So that's all I have. If there's anybody that wants to share any stories about maybe some scams that they've had or any questions, I'd be happy to. Yep. And I think we have a microphone. So the skimmers at the pumps, unfortunately, they're there. We do have them in this area, and usually it's gas pumps or ATMs that are outside. The scammers or the thieves will go in and place the skimmers in the middle of the night so they can take a little bit of extra time to do it. And there's all different kinds of skimming devices. Some of them are just very small, like they have a computer chip attached to a little ribbon that reads the card. So the only advice really what I have for that is if you don't have to insert your debit card or credit card into the machine, then don't do it. The tap function is always safer, okay? Usually if I'm at anytime I actually have to use an ATM where I stick the card in, I always grab the little slot and I try to shake it a little bit because some of those devices, they just put it right over top of the machine itself, whether it's the point of sale or the ATM, whatever, or the gas pump. They'll kind of recreate what it's supposed to look like and just put it over top. So if you kind of grab it and try to yank on it a little bit, if it comes off in your hand, it's a skimming device. But the nice thing about if your card information is stolen, the bank has to refund your money, right? Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Oh, we got a microphone coming.
Where was it?
Right here.
Okay.
Back about a year after COVID pretty much went away, I got a notice that I was entitled to excess funds from the COVID government, that they were giving away the excess funds, and it had a name of two different of my acquaintances that I knew and saying how much they had got. And if I would call and talk to them, they would, and I like a goof called and didn't have anything happen. I guessed it was a scam. Then I called my two friends, and they knew nothing about it. I don't know if that's still around, but
If that specific one isn't around, there's always something to take its place, right? But I love that you actually called the friends and you verified it first, you know? Because again, everybody's information is out there. It's for sale on the dark web. It's just a matter of whose turn it is. So you gotta start being able to recognize some of these clues and not falling for it. Because when it comes to scams, what is it? Ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So what it comes down to is you have to prevent the victimization, because once it happens, the money's gone. Yes, ma'am.
I get my gas up here at Speedway. Someone told me that scammers can put something in where I put my credit card to pay. And what would that look like? How would I know if they did that?
So what you're referring to is called a skimming device, and it's just, they have all kinds of different features. There's all kinds of devices, skimming devices, and they don't all look the same. Some of them are so small they actually can slide them into the card slot and you'll never see it. So if your debit card or credit card has the chip feature or the tap feature, yeah, the little gold star, yeah, try to use that feature or the tap. If you can avoid actually inserting your card, that's your best bet. But again, if somebody skims your credit card, debit card information, and then they take money out of your bank account, it's ultimately your bank's responsibility to secure your funds, so it will be refunded. So that's a little bit different. That's not quite a scam. It would be theft. Yeah, they know. And businesses will do what is best for the business financially. Not every company can afford really good camera systems to place outside to watch the pumps so their customers don't get scammed. The businesses are more worried about their bottom line, right? So they'll spend the money to secure the areas that matter to them, not necessarily the customers. So a lot of businesses will not spend money to put cameras outside. Unfortunately, people think that if their car gets hit in the parking lot of, I don't know, say Boscov's. Well, Boscov's isn't going to spend the money to put the cameras outside because their theft happens inside the business, right? They're not worried about what's going on in the parking lot. That's really the customer's problem. Exactly, yeah. Some cars like the Teslas have the cameras built in. Yep, yeah.
I used to regularly get calls from the state police for contributions. That's probably a scam, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say that's a scam, right? Yeah.
Another common one that I used to get was, this is Border Patrol calling you. You've got a package with drugs in it. Yeah.
That's a big one too.
Yeah.
We see that quite a bit.
I got that pretty often. So, if you don't do whatever, we'll send the police out or somebody out to arrest you.
Yep.
I said, can you tell me when he's coming so I can have the police here to arrest you?
Yep.
That was the end of that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and if you're quick-witted, I am not, but yeah, I would love to, get a phone call like that and say, okay, well, can I have my drugs, please? You have my address, please deliver them. I need to make some money selling those. So feel free to mess with these people.
So how valid is the wallet shield? And I understand now people can actually come by you if you have your credit card in your pocket and scan that. So how valuable are these things?
I don't know how well they work. It would be considered like a Faraday bag, right? I mean, the Cold War, some people built underground bunkers, and then as technology advances, we realized electromagnetic pulse could really destroy electronics, so they came up with this one solution. It was called a Faraday cage or Faraday box that you could put your sensitive electronics in to protect them from a nuclear blast. Well, it turns out we can actually also use those for cell phones. or other digital assets. So the credit cards now have the chips in it that scammers can use devices to essentially walk past you and get the information off your credit card. So you don't even need the scammer in the gas pump anymore. They can just walk around with a device and steal it when they're a couple of feet away from you. So they make wallets that are essentially Faraday cages that will help stop that signal. It's up to you if you want to spend the money. I would imagine there are some that work well, others that maybe aren't worth it at all. I don't have one, I just have the old leather wallet. Because again, if your credit card information gets stolen and somebody uses your account to take your money out of your bank account, it's an inconvenience, right? But ultimately, you're going to get that money refunded. So.
I'll go back here first.
I'm speaking for myself, not everyone else here. But I've noticed that I might start to do something and my daughter will say, Mom, don't do that. You know, and they'll kind of teach you until you're becoming more suspicious too, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and it's probably a good thing because scams are so pervasive. As I was standing here, I got my daily political scam phone call, right? I get a call every day from Washington, D.C., and I don't know if it's legitimate or not. I don't know if it's actually for a political campaign donation request or if it's a scam, but every day I get a call from 771. I just look at it and ignore it. The text messages from EasyPass, that was hitting really hard for a couple months. Every day I would get a text message from some scammers claiming that I had a balance on my EasyPass, and if I didn't pay it immediately, then I would have a huge fine, right? So these things are coming at us every day from every direction, and it really, sometimes it's hard to be cynical, but in the end, if your daughter's telling you to slow down a little bit, right? Because one of the big tactics that scammers use is to rush you, to make you panic and rush into making bad decisions. So if they're, I'm sorry? Yeah, you can. I have about 150 771 numbers blocked on my phone. Same with the text messages. I mean, I always report junk and block, but they just keep changing the phone numbers. So.
I think I saw Sarah. Did you have your hand up?
I just recently received a text message that $890 I used on my JCPenney credit card at JCPenney number 12 store. I thought, So I got my credit card out, which I even had in the drawer. I wasn't using, and I called the customer service number on the back of my credit card. And I was the automation, you know, and verified that the last payment I made was a year ago. I was fine. There was a zero. I hung up and I thought, yeah, I'm going to fix this character. So I called the same number back on the back of my credit card, and I got, you know, you have to work, got through to a real person, a representative, and an English-speaking young lady. I explained to her what happened, and I said, I want to cancel my credit card now. She said, done. And she took care of it and thanked me. She said, you realize that if you want to use your a new credit card at JCPenney, you'll have to reapply. I said, that's just fine. And I'm hoping, you know, and I received verification from that. It was a different bank, even actually, than what my text message told me. So because it was from a bank, and it was a verified credit union on my text message that would make me think, oh, this could be legit. But I thought, no way. But I just wanted to remind people to, if you do that, if you do get a credit, you know, something about a credit card, get your credit card out and use the customer service number.
Right. Yeah, and as far as I know, every credit card or debit card is going to have the phone number actually on the back of the card. Now, it's printed in about one font, so you might need a microscope to see it. but the number is on the back of the card. So I would rely on the phone number on the back of the card instead of trying to Google it, right?
When you get a text message and you know it's a scam, so you say delete and report the fraud, anybody get a report that there's that number being, does anything happen when you?
I would imagine it's going somewhere to Apple or Samsung or whoever the phone company is. They probably do something with it. I don't know what it is they do. But yeah, I don't know. I've never talked to anybody in the IT industry with any of the major companies, but I am kind of curious of that too, because, you know, on the bottom of a text message, anytime you get a new number, it has that option to report as junk. Well, who's it going to? I don't know. I would imagine it is helpful though.
I'm curious, does the government are they doing anything about these large scam things coming out of other countries?
On a local level, yes. If we have a victim of a scam, our detective division will run with it until the bitter end. They will send subpoenas anywhere they need to get records. The problem is 90% of the time, they'll get the information for the IP address, so where the computer systems are, and as soon as it's located in India or another country overseas, that's where our efforts have to end, right? Because we can't reach out overseas. Now, federal agencies do investigate these. I don't know what their threshold is for financial loss. I would imagine it's in the millions of dollars when they investigate this and realize that this criminal organization in the Dominican Republic has been scamming millions of dollars out of people. So they'll put a task force together. And if there is an extradition treaty between America and whatever country, they do bring these people back and you know, they will charge them and will extradite them. A few years ago, I was talking to a gentleman, I can't remember, I think he may have been with the FBI about a scam, and he actually had just gotten back from, I think it was Uganda, and they arrested a few people and brought them back. And every country, I know India's like the big country for scams, and they do have an organization that shuts these scammers down, but how successful they are, I don't know. All right, if there's no other questions, anything else? All right, well, thank you all for
Thank you
coming.
very much.